Hominids use stones as tools. North and South America connect. The hominid Paranthropus evolves, a line of extinct early bipedal hominids. The oldest formed stone tools, the start of the Paleolithic or Old Stone Age. The hominid Homo habilis evolves, the earliest member of the genus Homo. This is when the human brain begins to get bigger. The hominids bonobos evolve, the end of the Tertiary and start of the Quaternary period. Homo erectus evolves in Africa. Homo erectus moves into Eurasia from Africa. The controlled use of fire by hominids. The hominoid Gigantopithecus evolves, the largest ape known. Homo erectus evolves far less body hair except on the head, face, armpit, chest, and groin. Hominids in the genus Homo wear clothing. The earliest evidence of spears. The first humans, Homo sapiens, evolve in Africa. The human language of 30 short sounds begins to develop. All words are single syllable. This is the beginning of the transition from the verbal language of chimpanzees and monkeys to the language humans use now, which has shorter sound duration and a larger number of sounds. Homo neanderthalensis evolves in Europe and Western Asia. The start of the worm glaciation, which connects a land bridge between Asia and America. Homo sapiens move out of Africa into Eurasia. This is the beginning of differences in race within the human species. The oldest Homo sapiens skull outside of Africa, in Israel. The earliest human burial, Skull Cave in Israel. The theory that gods control the universe. Humans use a bow and arrows. Homo erectus goes extinct. The start of the mass extinction of large animals due in part to human impact. Earliest water ship, sapiens reach Australia from Southeast Asia. The earliest known mine, Lion Cave in Swaziland, Africa. The earliest known human-made painting. The earliest sapiens fossils in Europe, Romania. The earliest oil lamp. The earliest musical instrument, a flute, made from the wing bone of a vulture. Humans catch fish. Sapiens reach China. Humans weave textiles from flax and use coloring dyes. Humans raise dogs. The earliest ceramic objects, the Venus figurines. The Neanderthals go extinct. The earliest fired clay, clay dried and hardened by fire. Woven baskets. The earliest human-made structure, a stone wall. Cereal gathering. The earliest pottery. The earliest rope. The earliest known map. Lime cement is used as an adhesive on small stone tools. Sapiens reach America, the oldest human bones in America. The end of the Pleistocene and start of the Holocene epoch. This is the end of the last ice age. The start of the Neolithic or New Stone Age in the Fertile Crescent, a region of the Middle East arching from the Nile Valley to the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Humans shape metal objects from native copper. The oldest city, Jericho. The oldest saddle quern, a flat stone and rounded stone used to grind grain into flour. Goats are kept, fed, milked, and killed for food. The earliest stone buildings and temple in Turkey. Rye is grown in Syria. The earliest settlement in Mesopotamia. Flax is grown. Sheep are raised for wool, skins, meat, and dung, which is used for fuel. Pigs are raised and killed for food. Clay tokens with different shapes that represent products are used in Mesopotamia. Cows are raised for milk, for meat, and eventually for plowing. The earliest flint sickle. A sickle is used for cutting grain. Emmer wheat is grown in Syria. Common millet is grown in China. Barley is grown in Syria. The earliest domesticated plants in America. Squash is grown in Peru. Magar, an Indus Valley city, is founded. Lentils are grown in Israel. Einkorn wheat is grown in Syria. Peas are grown in Turkey. The oldest known boat, a dugout boat. The earliest drum. Rice grown in China. Corn is grown in Mexico. The first metal to be smelted and casted, copper. Smelting is separating a metal from its ore by using heat in a reducing or oxidizing material. The earliest reed boats. The sailboat. The first fruit trees. Olives are grown in Israel and Jordan. The earliest settlement in Europe, Provadia Solnitsata in Bulgaria, is founded. Winemaking. The earliest sun-dried mud bricks and mud brick house. The earliest nut crops. Almond trees are grown in the eastern part of the Mediterranean basin. The earliest writing on clay objects. The first numbers. The first stamp or seal. The first writing begins as symbols for numbers on clay bulla, hollow clay containers that hold clay tokens. These symbols represent the quantity and kind of tokens inside the bulla. Hollow bulli are eventually replaced by solid clay tablets with the same impressions. The sundial, the earliest timekeeping device. The earliest plow. Plows are used to break up soil. The earliest irrigation, supplying water to crops. Donkeys are raised and used for transport. The Egyptian calendar, 12 months of 30 days plus 5 extra days. The earliest known wheel, a pottery wheel. Cotton is grown in Peru. Writing on clay tablets. Symbols that represent a product such as cows, sheep, and cereals drawn with a stylus on clay tablets are the earliest record of what will become the modern alphabet. Training of scribes is an early school. These tablets contain a record of objects owned or traded and contain no stories. Ox-pulled vehicles with wheels. The earliest record of a belief in gods and goddesses. The earliest stringed musical instrument. The lyre and the harp. Written symbols are combined to form words. There is a transition from word writing to sound writing in Sumerian. The vast majority of Sumerian language is made of one-syllable words. This suggests that all earlier spoken languages contained only single-syllable words. Bronze, copper, and tin are smelted and casted, the start of the Bronze Age. Cuneiform writing. Soldering of metals, the earliest dam. The earliest silver objects. Metal casting, where wax is melted in a clay mold. The first recorded political assembly. The inclined plane, or ramp. The abacus, a counting and calculating device. The earliest pyramid in Egypt, designed by the earliest known scientist, Imhotep. Musical reed instruments. The earliest metal saw. The earliest arch. Iron is smelted and casted. The start of the Iron Age in Turkey. Scribes change from writing right to left in columns to writing left to right in rows. The earliest dice and board game. Animal skin is used for writing. The earliest parchment. The earliest recorded written history. Writing on papyrus. The Akkadian language. The earliest known Semitic language. The earliest verb tense and noun gender. The first dictionary. The earliest glass making. Glass beads. The earliest written stories. These consist of epics and myths, hymns and laments, proverbs and wisdom. These writings record a belief in gods, goddesses, a heaven, and an underworld. There are clear similarities between the Sumerian and the later Greek stories, for example, stories about the creation of the universe, good and bad deeds of the gods, and of a flood. Egyptian writing becomes completely phonetic, the first alphabet. The earliest musical horn. The earliest health science text. The first place value number system, a sexagesimal base 60 number system. Fractional values such as 1 over 60 and 1 over 3,600 are also in use. The earliest recorded laws. Humans ride horses. The earliest spoked wheel. Spokes make the wheel lighter in weight. The earliest lock and key. The earliest library catalog. Metal is traded as money. The vegetables leek, garlic, and onion are grown around the Fertile Crescent. The earliest agricultural science text. The earliest mathematical text. The first planet, Venus, is recognized in Babylon. The earliest oven-baked mud brick, or burned brick. The earliest pulley. The Vedas, 4 ancient Indian collections of poems or hymns, originate as an oral tradition. The water clock, or clepsydra. The earliest American city, an Olmec city in Veracruz, Mexico. The first letters that represent vowel sounds. The earliest Chinese writing. Welding of metals using heat and hammering. Monotheism, the theory that only one God exists. Two-piece mold metal casting. The earliest written musical notation and musical composition. The Phoenician alphabet, the ancestor of the Greek alphabet. Complex pulleys. The earliest lens. The Aramaic alphabet, the ancestor of Hebrew, Arabic, and probably the alphabets of India. The earliest Hebrew writing. The Greek alphabet. The Indian alphabets of India and Southeast Asia. Eclipses are predicted by Babylonian astronomers. The earliest aqueduct, a channel to move water from one place to another, near Nineveh. The earliest concrete, lime cement mixed with limestone used in an aqueduct. All planets visible to the naked eye, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, are clearly distinguished from stars in Babylonia. The Etruscan alphabet, the Old Testament, the Torah, the Hebrew Bible, the Ten Commandments, and the story of Genesis. Metal coin money. The universe is explained without using the theory of gods by Thales. The earliest Native American writing. The Earth-centered universe theory, and the theory that humans evolved from fish. The Earth-centered theory will dominate until the 1500s. The Latin alphabet. The Earth is described as a sphere. The sun is explained as a mass of red-hot metal. That the brain controls the body is understood, and the first human dissection. The earliest particle or wireless communication. The optical telegraph using fire signals. The theory that all matter is made of atoms. The theory that the universe is made of only 4 elements: water, air, fire, and earth. The theory that the Earth moves through space. The Metonic calendar, 12 years of 12 months and 7 years of 13 months. The universe is explained as being filled with many other worlds and the Milky Way as a large group of stars. Grafting of plants in Greece. Plato's Academy, the theory that the Earth rotates around its own axis and that some planets rotate around the Sun. Aristotle's Lyceum, a fifth element, ether, is added. The theory that the Moon influences the tides. The earliest chain drive, an automatic repeating crossbow. The Museum and Library of Alexandria. Euclid's Elements compiles all known mathematics. Compressed air is used for a catapult and for the earliest musical keyboard instrument, an organ, by Ctesibius. The cerebrum and cerebellum of the brain are identified. The earliest lever. The earliest screw. The rotation of the Earth around its own axis once a day and around the Sun once a year is understood by Aristarchus. The earliest known escapement, a device that controls the rotation of a toothed gear to provide periodic impulses. The size of Earth is correctly calculated by using the angle of the Sun's shadow and the distance between two cities. The earliest observation of a comet. Metal gears, the earliest evidence of the spur and worm gears. The distance to the Moon is measured using parallax, by measuring how much an object appears to move compared to a more distant object when the observer changes positions. The law of inertia, that a body preserves its motion, is understood. The invention of paper in China. A nova is observed, the first star catalog that uses celestial coordinates of latitude and longitude and that divides stars by brightness. The precession of the equinoxes is recognized, that the position of the stars at equinox changes slightly each year. The earliest known metal spur gear and mechanical computer. Negative numbers are used in China. The theory that light is made of atoms that move very fast. The first glass blowing. The Julian calendar. 365 days with an extra day every 4 years. The earliest water wheel. The earliest elevator or vertical lift. The germ theory of disease, that disease can be caused by tiny living organisms. The steam engine, a windwheel-powered machine. The glass prism. The last cuneiform texts, the earliest encyclopedia, the magnetic compass, the earliest known complete musical composition, including musical notation, Ptolemy's Almagest, an Earth-centered model of the universe with the Earth a stationary sphere in the center, surrounded by 7 larger planetary spheres for the Moon, Sun, planets, and fixed stars. The earliest press-on printing, in China, the Arabic alphabet. Roman Emperor Theodosius I prohibits the visiting of non-Christian temples. The library in Alexandria, the Serapeum, is destroyed by Christians. The murder of Hypatia. Byzantine Emperor Justinian closes the schools of Alexandria and Athens, including Plato's Academy. The earliest hospital in France. The earliest windmill in Persia. This windmill uses a vertical shaft and horizontal sails to grind grain. The numerals 0 through 9 and decimal notation. Jabir prepares and identifies acids. Woodcut printing. Lowercase letters. Charlemagne establishes schools where math and grammar are taught. String instruments are played with a bow. Al-Mamun founds the Beit al-Hikmah, House of Wisdom School, where many scientific works are translated into Arabic. Gunpowder is invented in China. The earliest medical or health science school in Salerno, Italy. Norwegian explorers reach North America. The earliest rocket in China. The encyclopedia, the Suda. Paper money is used in China. The pinhole camera. Movable type printing. The University of Bologna. The first cannon and gun. The first stringed instrument to use a keyboard. The University of Oxford. The University of Paris. The start of the Inquisition. Pope Lucius III makes burning the official punishment for heresy. The theory that all matter is made of light. The movable metal block printing press. The first eyeglasses. Mechanical clocks. Sulfuric and other strong acids described. Mondino de Luzzi's anatomy book. The law of inertia is revived. The University of Vienna, the oldest university in the German-speaking world. Sungkyunkwan University in Korea is founded. Gutenberg introduces the movable type printing press into Europe. Space is described as infinite in size, and stars are described as other suns with inhabited planets. The earliest wound spiral spring-driven clocks. Gutenberg prints copies of the Bible, the first printed book in Europe. Leonardo da Vinci designs a parachute. Da Vinci designs gliders, a helical air screw, and a flying machine with flapping wings. Humans from Europe reach America by crossing the Atlantic Ocean in 3 small ships. Europeans reach the Pacific Ocean, the start of the Protestant Reformation. Humans circumnavigate the Earth. The method of triangulation to measure distance. A baseline of known length is chosen, and from its endpoints the angles of sight to a remote object are measured. The distance to the object from either endpoint can then be calculated using simple trigonometry. The University of Santo Domingo, the first university in the Western Hemisphere. The sun-centered theory is revived by Copernicus. Arteries are tied to stop bleeding. Artificial limbs are created. The scientific classification of minerals. Pulmonary circulation is understood by Servetus, that blood goes from the right side of the heart to the lung, where it is mixed with air becoming red, and then to the left side of the heart, where it is sent through the rest of the body. The first planetary tables based on the sun-centered theory. Servetus is burned alive for heresy. Systematic computations of probability. The first scientific society, a group for the communication of scientific research. The precursor of the Academy of the Links. Fallopian tubes and semicircular canals are identified, and the vagina, placenta, clitoris, and cochlea are named. Cylindrical projection is used to make a map so that lines of latitude and longitude are straight. A comet is proven to be farther away than the Moon and to have an orbit that is not circular. The Gregorian calendar, February 29th, is omitted in century years, which are not divisible by 400. Decimal point notation is used in Europe. Objects of different weight are shown to fall the same distance in the same amount of time. The flush toilet. Letters are used to represent constant and unknown numbers. The first variables. Galileo invents the first thermometer. A variable star is discovered, a star that shows periodic changes in brightness. Bruno is burned alive for heresy. That the Earth is a spherical magnet on which a compass points to the magnetic poles is recognized. And the first electroscope, which measures static electricity. The inverse squared law of light, that the intensity of light is inversely related to the square of the distance. The earliest telescope, the law of falling bodies, that the distance covered by a falling body is proportional to the square of the elapsed time is understood. Kepler shows that planets move in elliptical orbits with the sun at one focus of the ellipse, and that a line connecting a planet and the sun will sweep over equal areas in equal times. The moons of Jupiter are first seen and their period determined by Galileo. The phases of planet Venus are seen by Galileo. The earliest microscope, a compound light microscope, that the sun has spots and rotates around its own axis, is shown. Exponential notation and logarithms. Harvey describes the circulatory system, that blood can only move in one direction, and that blood moves in a circle from the heart to the arteries, from the arteries to the veins, and through the veins back to the heart. The earliest known reflecting telescope. The first double or binary star system is observed. The law of refraction, which describes how a light ray bends when passing between two mediums of different density. The submarine, the sealed thermometer, measures temperature independently of air pressure. That the sun completes one rotation every 25 days is recognized. The transit of Mercury across the sun is observed. The speed of sound is measured. Galileo is condemned to life imprisonment by the Inquisition. The Académie Parisienne, the precursor to the French Academy of Sciences. Frequencies of sounds are measured. Harvard College is founded. The Cartesian coordinate system. The transit of Venus is observed. The micrometer, a device for precision measurement. The repeating gun, a gun in which ammunition is fed from a magazine. A mechanical calculating machine that can add and subtract. The earliest vacuum and the barometer, which measures the pressure of the air. The phases of Mercury are observed. The concept of momentum, mass times velocity. Atmospheric pressure is shown to change at different elevations. The label of gas is applied to a substance. Carbon dioxide gas is recognized. The first air pump, that sound cannot be produced in the absence of air, is proven. The hydraulic press. The first known moon of Saturn, Titan, is identified. Exponents are extended to include negative numbers and fractions. Red blood cells are observed and described. The Royal Society is formed. Gas is collected. That electrical attraction is transmitted through a vacuum is proven. Acid-base indicators. The connection of arteries and veins is observed. That pressure and volume of a gas are inversely related is known. The first static electricity generator. A sulfur globe is rotated against a cloth. The theory that light is made of particles is revived by Descartes. Descartes also identifies both the wave and corpuscular theory of light. The theory that comets move in elliptical orbits. The theory of light diffraction. The period of a Mars day is measured. The first blood transfusion. The wave theory of light is firmly established by Hooke, with the medium being a fluid between the stars associated with the ancient concept of ether. Calculus. Differentiation is used to find the rate of change or slope of an equation, and integration is used to calculate the area or volume described by an equation. Jupiter's period of daily rotation is determined. Double refraction is observed. The element phosphorus is identified. Hydrogen gas is released by mixing iron filings and acids. The corpuscular theory of light is firmly established by Newton. Color is determined to be a property of light, not of objects. White light is separated into and recreated from primary colors. Light of different colors is shown to refract at different angles. The scale of our star system is measured. Protists are observed. The element oxygen is identified. Bacteria are observed. The speed of light is measured from the changing time of the moons of Jupiter entering and exiting the shadow of Jupiter while their distance from Earth changes. Sperm cells are observed. The helical spring. A catalog of southern hemisphere stars. Direct neuron activation, or direct neuron writing. Jan Swammerdam contracts a muscle with electricity. The cell nucleus is described. The first picture of bacteria. The law of gravitation by Newton, that all matter attracts other matter with a force that is the product of their masses and the inverse of their distance squared. A gear-cutting machine. The steam engine is reinvented. The concept of energy, vis visa, the living force, which is mass times velocity squared. The size and distance of other stars is measured. The theory that color is determined by the frequency of light. The piano. Newton theorizes that light particles are affected by gravity. The path of a comet is correctly calculated. The theory that the universe is made of mostly empty space by Newton. The movement of the stars over long periods of time is proven. A machine uses a perforated roll of paper to form patterns in textiles. The theory that electricity is made of two different fluids. The first clock that can keep accurate time at sea. Life of Earth is systematically categorized by Linnaeus. Storage of electricity, the capacitor, an electrostatic motor. The single fluid theory of electricity. Lightning is recognized as electricity. Citrus fruits are proven to cure scurvy. The basis of refrigeration is understood. Humans recognize that evaporating liquid lowers temperature. A spark is passed through a vacuum tube. The earliest telegraph. Moscow State University is founded. Electrolysis. Molecules are split using electricity. Water is separated into hydrogen and oxygen gases using electricity. Hydrogen gas is isolated. The first self-propelled vehicle, a steam engine-powered automobile. 5 new gases are identified and isolated, including nitrous oxide and carbon monoxide. The theory that gravity changes the speed of light particles. The mass of a light particle is measured. Oxygen gas is isolated. Nitrogen gas is isolated. The element chlorine is isolated as a gas. Combustion is shown to be a reaction with a gas in the air, later named oxygen. 11 new acids are identified, including citric and lactic, in addition to the identification of casein, aldehyde, and glycerol. Photosynthesis is understood. Planet Uranus is identified. The motion of the sun relative to the other stars is recognized. The hot air balloon, a steam engine boat. Human flight by balloon. The density of gases is measured. Water is shown to be a compound, not an element. The fusion of molecules using electricity. Water is synthesized by using an electric spark in hydrogen and oxygen gases. The earliest diffraction grating, made with hair. Air is shown to be a mixture of gases and not a single element. Electric and magnetic attraction and repulsion are proven to be both proportional to amount of charge and inversely proportional to distance squared. That volume and temperature of a gas are inversely related is known. Remote neuron activation or remote neuron writing by Luigi Galvani. A muscle is contracted remotely by using a remote electric spark while metal is connected to the nerve. The theory of natural selection, that species less adapted are more likely to die while those better adapted will continue and multiply. Immunity by vaccination is proven. Marble is produced by melting and quickly cooling limestone. The gravitational constant, the mass, and the density of the Earth are measured. Elements are shown to combine in definite proportions. The electric battery or voltaic pile. Invisible light is recognized. Infrared light. Hydrogen and oxygen gas are collected separately from the electrolysis of water. Electroplating. The first known asteroid and minor planet, Ceres, is recognized. The invisible light, ultraviolet light, is discovered. The frequencies and wavelengths or particle intervals of light are determined. The first glass diffraction gratings. The 3-color principle, that only 3 colors in different proportions are needed to see any other color. The theory of light interference. Spectral lines are identified. The first dry electric battery. that atoms of different elements vary in size and mass is shown. The first table of elements by atomic mass, the steam engine railway train. Asparagine, the first amino acid, is isolated. The Fourier transform, that any periodic oscillation can be reduced to a sum of simple trigonometric, sine or cosine, etc. wave motions. The phenomenon of light polarization is observed. Gases are shown to combine in small whole number ratios by volume and not by mass. The first electric light, the arc lamp. Chlorine is shown to be an element and shown to support combustion like oxygen does. Hydrogen is shown to be characteristic of acids. The concept of molecules and the method to determine correct atomic mass and molecular formula. The spectroscope, that substances emit specific spectral lines, is known. The spectrum of planet Venus is found to have the same absorption lines as the Sun, and the spectrum of other stars are found to have absorption lines that are different from those of the Sun. The theory that all atomic masses are a multiple of hydrogen. The first photograph. The theory that light is a transverse wave, oscillates at a right angle to the direction of travel in an ether medium. The theory that chemicals contain light. Electricity is understood to cause magnetism. The first electromagnet. The direction of electric current in a wire is related to magnetic force. Magnetism is identified as electricity. The electric current meter. The first gas combustion engine. Uses hydrogen gas combustion to create a vacuum. The dynamic electric motor. The grating equation. The wavelength or particle interval of light is equated to the grating groove spacing. The wavelength of light is calculated by using a diffraction grating. The first practical electromagnet. The phenomenon of electrical oscillation is discovered, the basis of alternating current and radio communication. The first permanent photograph and photograph reproduction process. A gas combustion vacuum engine car. Ohm's law. Current is recognized as being equal to voltage divided by resistance. The earliest electronic printer. The first organic molecule, urea, is produced from inorganic sources. Electric current is produced by moving a wire near a magnet. The theory that space is curved, that a curved surface geometry applies to space in the universe. The start of non-Euclidean geometry. A sewing machine. The electrical transformer, a device used to transfer electricity from one circuit to another, in particular a pair of wire coils that can be used to transfer electricity with a change in voltage, current, or phase. The dynamic electric generator, or dynamo. By mechanically moving a conductor near a magnet, a constant electric current is produced. The first plastic materials, made of nitrocellulose. The alternating electric current, or AC generator. A mechanical reaper, a machine that cuts grain. The speed of electricity in wire is measured using a rotating mirror. The electrical relay, a device that allows the electric current of telegraph signals to be carried over long distances. A high-voltage induction coil. The electric motor car. The parallax of a different star is measured. 61 Cygni is shown to be around 6 light-years away. Cell theory, the principle that all living objects are made of cells. Light is converted into electricity, the photoelectric or photovoltaic effect. This is the first photovoltaic or solar cell. The first use of an anesthetic for surgery, ether. The Doppler effect, that frequency of light and sound is affected by the relative motion of the source and observer. The first remote control explosive. The spiral shape of other galaxies is recognized. Planet Neptune is observed. Nitrocellulose is used to make the first smokeless explosive. The liquid explosive nitroglycerin. The absolute temperature scale is created with minus 273 degrees Celsius as absolute zero, where all molecules stop moving. A constant high voltage is applied to gas-filled evacuated tubes. The speed of light is measured using a terrestrial method. Light is shown to move more slowly in water than in air. The speed of electricity in nerves is measured. The rotation of the Earth around its own axis is proven experimentally with a pendulum. Cell division is recognized. The theory of valence, that each type of atom has a fixed capacity for combining with other atoms. A practical passenger elevator. Sound is recorded mechanically by the sound vibrating a stylus that draws onto paper. The theory of evolution is popularized. The theory that life descends from a single common ancestor and that through natural selection only the best adapted survive to pass on their successful traits while the less adapted die out. The spectral lines emitted when a substance is burned are used to determine the atomic composition of the substance. That each element emits and absorbs light at the same specific frequencies is recognized. The first element is identified from the light of the sun, sodium. The finding that a spectral emission line can only be reversed to an absorption line when the absorber is colder than the emitter. The direct acting gas combustion engine. The element cesium is identified, the first element to be discovered spectroscopically. The first microphone, speaker, and telephone. Sound is converted to electricity and back to sound again. Sound can be sent farther as electric current in a wire than mechanically in air and travels silently. The first color image is projected. The machine gun or Gatling gun. The first direct-acting internal combustion gas engine car. Spectral lines from elements are matched to spectral lines from other stars. The spectra of nebulae and galaxies are seen. Unlike stars, nebulae are shown to have no spectrum except for a few emission lines and therefore to be composed of gas by using spectral comparison. The theory that light is an electromagnetic transverse wave. The law of genetic inheritance, the 1:2:1 ratio of inheritance of a trait. Dynamite. The Doppler effect is used to estimate the relative radial or line of sight velocity of celestial objects by comparing the position of spectral lines from the celestial object to those of a terrestrial light source. The first permanent color photograph. A periodic table of elements. The first direct neuron reading. The electricity in nerve cells is measured. The first practical refrigerator. A sound recording is played back out loud. A practical electric light bulb. Synthetic fabric. The first synthetic silk. Rayon. Sound is sent and received using light particles, or photons. Piezoelectricity is discovered. When pressure is applied to certain crystals, an electric potential is created, and the opposite effect. When an electric potential is applied, these crystals vibrate at a regular rate. An artificial muscle. Slavery is ended. The electronic camera and electronic image. An image is captured and sent electronically. Light is found to have the same speed in any direction horizontal to the Earth. This causes doubt about the existence of an ether medium and about the wave theory for light. The first invisible frequency light particle communication. The first radio communication. The sending and receiving of a message using light particles by electrical induction. Positively charged ion beams are discovered, Canalstrahlen or channel rays. The gasoline internal combustion engine car. The phenomenon of electrical resonance is discovered. This allows specific frequencies of light to be singled out, which improves radio communication. The alternating current electric motor. The electricity of a heartbeat is measured and recorded. Light interference between two radio sources is demonstrated. Electrical induction is confirmed to have the speed of light. Electricity is used to restart a heart beating. An automatic telephone exchange allows people to connect their own phone calls. The theory that matter contracts depending on its velocity relative to the speed of light. The motion picture camera and projector. Moving images are captured, stored on plastic film, and projected onto a screen. The double-wall vacuum container. The speed of cathode rays is shown to be less than the speed of light. The element argon and the series of inert gases is identified. The element and inert gas helium is identified on Earth. X-rays are discovered. Radioactivity is discovered. Invisible rays are detected from a uranium salt. Electricity is shown to be made of particles, the electron. This is the first particle besides light known to be smaller than an atom. The first electronic display, the oscilloscope. Positive rays are shown to be made of positively charged particles with a mass similar to electrons, later called protons. Hydrogen is liquefied. The radioactive element polonium is identified. Magnetic writing and reading of data. Sound is recorded and played back magnetically. The theory that mass and time change for a body depending on its motion relative to the speed of light. Beta rays of radioactivity are identified as electrons. The temperature of an object is related to the frequencies of light the object emits. Quantum theory. The theory that all energy exists in discrete units. X-rays are shown to kill guinea pigs. Radioactivity is recognized as atomic decay, in which one atom decays into another kind. The airplane, the first powered, sustained, and controlled airplane flight. The Saturnian model of the atom. Negatively charged electrons rotate around a large mass positively charged particle. Radar, radio light is used to determine the location of distant objects. The special theory of relativity. The theory that the speed of light is constant independently of the motion of all other objects. The theory that motion changes mass and time is adopted, but that an ether medium for light is unnecessary. The electric switch and vacuum tube amplifier. The mass spectrometer, a device that can separate atoms with an electric charge, ions, by their mass. Alpha particles of radioactivity are identified as helium ions. The helicopter. A helicopter achieves free flight while carrying a passenger. The theory of space and time is a four-dimensional structure called space-time. The first images sent and received by radio. The mass and size of an electron is determined. A wireless telephone. The theory that space and time are infinite. The theory of atomic isotopes. that an element can have a different atomic mass but the same position on the periodic table. The diffraction of X-ray light by atomic planes in crystals is discovered. The wavelength or particle interval of X-rays is determined to be smaller than ultraviolet light, which suggests that X-rays are very high-frequency light. Diffraction is explained as particle reflection. The dispersion of light by a grating or prism into a spectrum of increasing frequencies is explained as particles of the same spacing as the grating groove at a specific angle of incidence, all reflecting in the same direction. The general theory of relativity. Space and time are restricted to a curved surface geometry. The Andromeda Galaxy is claimed to have a very high velocity relative to the Earth. The high-frequency spectra of elements are mapped, and the frequency of secondary X-rays emitted from atoms is shown to relate to atomic mass. Gamma rays from radioactivity are found to have wavelengths in the X-ray region. Sound is recorded and played back with motion pictures on plastic film. The theory that spiral nebulae are other galaxies. The electric propulsion engine. Ultrasonic sound. Sound with a frequency too high to be heard by the human ear is produced by piezoelectricity and used to determine the location of objects by reflection, sonar. The theory that the universe is expanding. The sun is determined to be in the outer part of our galaxy. The first electronic read and write memory. Atomic transmutation. Atoms of nitrogen are changed into atoms of oxygen by colliding accelerated alpha particles with nitrogen gas. Electronic moving images are transmitted and received by radio. The scanning electronic camera and electronic image display. Spiral nebulae are proven to be other galaxies containing stars and to be very far away. A color image electronic scanning camera. The transistor, or solid-state electronic switch and amplifier. The circular particle accelerator, the cyclotron. Women gain the right to vote. The electron microscope. The neutron is identified and distinguished from a hydrogen atom. The positive electron, the positron, is identified. Atomic fusion. A helium atom is made from two hydrogen atoms. Atomic fission. Uranium atoms are split by neutrons. The first transuranium elements. Elements 93 through 96, neptunium, plutonium, americium, and curium, are identified from the collision of neutrons with uranium. The first image of individual atoms. Atoms are confirmed to be about 0.1 nanometer in size. Element 43, the first completely artificial element. The radioactive metal technetium is created by particle collision. Charged particles with masses in between an electron and proton are recognized. Muons. The first image of a virus, 150 nanometers in size. The bipedal or two-leg walking robot. A planet of a different star is detected. A self-sustained uranium fission reaction. The DNA molecule is recognized as being responsible for the creation and inheritance of structural changes in a body. The first atomic fission bomb is exploded. The microwave oven. Elements 73, tantalum, through 83, bismuth, are fissioned with deuterons, helium ions, or neutrons. The semiconductor transistor. The fission of medium-weight elements. Copper, bromine, silver, and tin. Atomic fusion of large atoms. Carbon-12 ions are fused with both aluminum and gold atoms. The double helix structure of DNA is understood. The first synthesized protein. The maser. Microwave amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. The antiproton is identified. The first human-made satellite, Sputnik 1. The first atomic explosion in empty space. The integrated circuit, or IC. A ship impacts the moon. A device inside the body is controlled remotely. An artificial heart pacemaker is remotely controlled with radio. Photons are proven to have mass. Gravity is shown to change the speed and frequency of light. The laser, light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. Messenger RNA in the system that regulates protein synthesis in the cell, regulatory genes called operins, are identified. The first human to orbit the Earth. That DNA nucleotides code for amino acids in proteins is understood. Laser writing and reading of data. The liquid crystal display, LCD. The first ship to reach Mars and to return images of the surface. The first ship to impact a different planet, Venus. The first ship to orbit a body beyond the Earth, the Moon. Pulsars, stars that emit regularly timed bursts of radio light, are identified. Humans land and walk on the surface of the moon of Earth. A DNA molecule is broken with an enzyme. The Internet. People use computers to communicate over the telephone wire network. The digital electronic camera. Two DNA molecules are combined using an enzyme. The first artificial gene is synthesized. The first ship to orbit another planet, Mars. A ship impacts Mars. The first ship to soft land on planet Mars and return data. Proteins are synthesized by using a virus to add DNA into bacteria. A ship reaches Jupiter and sends the first close-up images. The personal computer. A ship orbits, lands on, and transmits images from the surface of Venus. An external object is moved by thought, electricity in the brain. The first images and soil samples from the surface of Mars. The complete DNA sequence of a virus is determined. A self-driving car. A ship reaches Saturn and sends the first close-up images. The scanning tunneling microscope. Individual atoms and molecules of many kinds can be seen. A multicellular organism is cloned. Genetically identical copies are made by replacing the nucleus of one ovum with a different one. Polymerase chain reaction, PCR, a simple technique that allows a specific segment of DNA to be copied billions of times in a few hours. A ship reaches Uranus and sends close-up images of the planet, its moons, and its rings. A microscopic electric motor. A ship reaches Neptune and sends the first close-up images of the planet, its moons, and rings. Individual atoms are moved. A ship reaches and sends close-up images of an asteroid and discovers the first known moon of an asteroid. The first ship to orbit Jupiter. An animal is cloned by replacing the nucleus of an ovum with the nucleus from a somatic cell. A microscopic radio chip, or RFID chip. A remote control device emits drugs inside a human body. A nanometer-scale electric motor. The first ship to orbit Saturn. Stem cells are used to repair damaged nerves, allowing a paralyzed human to walk. A ship lands on a moon of Saturn, Titan. Remote neuron reading. An image of what the eyes are seeing is captured remotely using magnetic resonance imaging, MRI. Sound a brain hears is recorded directly from the brain.